Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Grow business. Transform Gujarat.
મારી આજનું કીનોટ છે ટેકનોલોજી ઉપર છે, પણ આઈ થિંક ટેકનોલોજી આજે એવી વસ્તુ છે કે જે બધી ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીઝ, બધી જાતના વ્યવસાય, નાના મોટા બધાને ટચ કરે છે. આપણે અત્યારે જોઈએ તો આઈ થિંક ઇન્ડિયામાં અત્યારે જોઈએ તો ઇન્ડિયા ટ્રુલી એક ડિજિટલ રેનેસાન્સમાં જઈ રહ્યું છે. અને હું ઘણી વખત એ જ વસ્તુ કહું છું કે આજે ઇન્ડિયા ઇઝ ટ્રુલી એટ ધ એજ ઓફ નયા દોર ઓફ ડિજિટલ ટ્રાન્સફોર્મેશન. આઈ થિંક આજે જે ઇનોવેશન, જે જાતની પ્રગતિ ઇન્ડિયામાં થઈ રહી છે, આઈ થિંક ઇન્ડિયા આજે ડિફાઇન કરે છે કે કઈ રીતે ટેકનોલોજી વાપરી શકાય આખા દુનિયામાં. તમે આજે જુઓ તો સ્ટેટ બેંક ઓફ ઇન્ડિયાનો યોનો એપ્લિકેશન છે. અત્યારે ઘણા બીજા દેશના બેન્કો અહીંયા આવીને એને સ્ટડી કરવાનું ટ્રાય કરે છે. આજે આપણું યુપીઆઈ છે, ડીપીઆઈ છે, એ બધી વસ્તુઓ આજે ઇન્ડિયા કદાચ બતાવે છે કે કઈ રીતે ટેકનોલોજી વાપરી શકાય સિટીઝન સર્વિસીસ માટે, બિઝનેસીસ માટે, અને બિઝનેસીસ એકબીજાને કનેક્ટ થવા માટે. ઇન્ડિયાનું ગ્રોથ સ્ટોરી જે છે એ આપણે જોઈએ તો વિકસિત ભારત 2047 will be driven as much by business and citizen services as it will be through digital transformation. આજે તમે જુઓ તો since COVID ખાસ કરીને technology is truly defining and is serving as a sutradhar for how we connect businesses to business, how we connect people to people, how we drive citizen services, how we enable new businesses. And within that, આજે I know કે અહીંયા આજે જેટલા અટેન્ડ કરી રહ્યા છે ઘણા બધા MSMEs છે. આજે MSMEs ઇન્ડિયાનું બેકબોન બની ગયું છે. Few numbers which I was actually when I was preparing for this, I picked out few numbers. And I was really, it was interesting to see that today 30% of India's GDP comes from MSMEs. And MSMEs around India are employing over 24 crore people in this country. And over 6.3 crore MSMEs are accounting for 45% of India's total exports. As we become more and more of an export-driven economy, with the goal, Indiaમાં goal છે અત્યારે ગવર્મેન્ટનો to reach $2 trillion in exports by 2030, MSMEs will have to play a very significant role in that, to drive that. And MSMEs will be the thrust, they will be thrust on the global stage. Because for MSMEs, it's not good enough to just operate in your own markets. You have to operate in a way that where you become relevant in the global economy. તમે જો અત્યારે ગ્લોબલ સ્ટેજ ઉપર નહીં ઓપરેટ કરો as MSMEs, તો you will be taken out of competition. કારણ કે ટુડે તમારા જે કસ્ટમર્સ છે, તમારા એન્ડ કસ્ટમર્સ છે, તમારા ટાર્ગેટ કસ્ટમર્સ છે, એ લોકો તમારી પાસેથી સર્વિસીસ, પ્રોડક્ટ, ઇનોવેશન એક્સપેક્ટ કરે છે કે જે લોકોને અરાઉન્ડ ધ વર્લ્ડ બીજા MSMEsથી કે બીજા તમારા કમ્પિટિટર્સથી મળી રહ્યું છે. સો ધેરફોર you really have to think about how do you get into competing with your global counterparts in a meaningful way. And to do that, this is where digital transformation becomes very, very critical. And a digital transformation is in a variety of different ways. How do you improve quality? How do you improve product quality? How do you drive products that compete with other MSMEs from around the world, where you have to eliminate defects, reduce rework, and enhance customer satisfaction. And when you think about how you serve your customers, it's not about saying if you're in the manufacturing space and you're manufacturing, let's say, toys. It's not about how your toys and how you sell those toys digitally is working for, in the toy industry or in the manufacturing industry. People are expecting you to meet them in the digital space the way they are working with other digital natives. કે કાલે ઉઠીને કઈ રીતે બીજા ડિજિટલ નેટિવ્સ ડ્રાઈવ કરે છે એ લોકોનો કસ્ટમર સેટિસ્ફેક્શન, order fulfillment, invoicing, payments, and so on. That is what they are expecting you to deliver. So as you think about digital transformation, I would encourage you to think about three things. Number one, what digital transformation is relevant for you, and how do you make it relevant for your customers and their customers? So it's not about just doing fancy things and just because someone is on the cloud, you have to be on the cloud. What you have to think about is, am I being relevant to my customer base? Am I doing something that is making me as an entity more relevant to my customers? Second, it's all about being practical. Practicalness more than flash and show is really important. So for an MSME, what is more important? How do you increase productivity? How do you reduce cycle time? How do you increase throughput? Optimize resource utilization? All of these things are very important in terms of how you think about digital transformation. I think someone was talking to me earlier that aaj lot of MSMEs have a lot of FOMO, or being left out, FOMO of being left out from digital transformation. I think it's not so much about FOMO, but asking yourself the question, how do you become relevant in the marketplace that you're trying to operate in? And how do you become more of a global entity by driving digital transformation for yourself? It is even about accelerating new product development. How do you work with others to use technology to drive innovation and build new products that you can drive? So, as I said, there are three things that you need to keep in mind when you think about digital transformation. One is whether you are relevant for yourself, your market, your customers, and their end customers. Second, whether it is practical. Are you doing things that are actually helping you cut costs, be more efficient, target new customers, drive new product innovation? Third, how do you do it in a tiered manner? Trying to be all things to all people immediately doesn't work. But you can build your digital transformation journey in a way where you gradually build it up to really drive new innovation, new capabilities, and then build on top of each other as you drive growth by driving all of this. Second, let me talk about what is the art of the possible. So there are three technologies which I think are very relevant when we think about digital transformation, particularly in the MSME space. One is artificial intelligence. Now, there is a lot of discussion that we have about artificial intelligence. But at the end of the day, artificial intelligence is about capturing the right data and making sense with that data that enables you to improve customer experience through chatbots. Simple chatbots can actually help your customers gain a lot better experience in terms of how they interact with you, helping them understand your product suite, helping them understand what your capabilities are, helping them understand how they can take your products and actually drive value for themselves and their end customers. Second, improved visibility and decision making for yourselves. Understanding what your customer base looks like, what kind of products are they looking for, how do you take that input from your customers to really innovate your product development, design, and so on. So it's all about improved decision making. Third is personalized marketing campaigns. The other thing that AI is being used for right now, and this is again something where you don't have to make a huge investment, but work with marketing agencies that can personalize marketing campaigns for you so you can target your end customer base. Fourth area, regulatory compliance. There is a lot of compliance, and particularly if you are in regulated industries can, and you can streamline your compliance process significantly through the use of AI. And then application modernization. Today, 60% of software development can be auto-generated and auto-done by AI if you use it properly. So there is a lot of applications for AI that can be done, which can actually drive cost improvement for you as an MSME. This is one area. Second is automation. Gartner study found that businesses investing in automation can reduce their operational costs by over 70%. Now, what are some examples of that? Simple things like invoice process automation. That is something which you can do to really drive how you drive your quote to cash process by really improving invoice automation. What that does then is doesn't require you to do full-scale digital transformation, but you can pick processes that can be automated so that you are getting value out of it and getting high productivity out of it as well. Similarly, payroll processing. Payroll processing today, there are utilities and services that are actually driving different HR processes and such. I'll give you our own example. IBM company, and I understand we are a big company, we obviously have processes, probably a lot more people around the world and so on. But by using AI and automation in just our HR and procurement processes, we have taken $3.5 billion out of our bottom line in the last 2 years. Now, obviously, larger company, larger spend, larger number of people, but that reflects a double-digit percentage saving from your bottom line. So these are the kinds of solutions that are available today through digital transformation. And digital transformation doesn't mean you have to do it whole scale. You can pick, as I said, be relevant and practical in what you engage in to really make that change. And the third one, which I will say, which is really, really important, is cybersecurity. Today we are having, bad people are becoming worse, and a technology gem prevalent thase, and bad people are going to become worse. So focusing on cybersecurity for your own businesses so that you can provide that trust to your end customers is very, very critical. And here again, you don't have to do something that is, end-to-end and so on, but you can start small and make sure that at least your core network, your core databases and others are well protected. Today, there's another statistic I found, which I found very, very interesting. Research shows that less than 15% of the 6.3 crore MSMEs have actually achieved digital maturity. So a long way to go. Now, the argument that comes up, અને આજ હમણાં અંદર આમ લોકો સ્પીકર રૂમમાં બેઠા હતા ત્યાં ઘણા લોકોએ મને એ કહ્યું કે we are MSMEs, we don't know how much we can invest in, how much, capex is obviously a problem, we don't know how much should we do, where should we start, where should we go. So let me lay out how you can think about addressing it. As I said, digital transformation doesn't mean you've got to do everything everyone else is doing. But ask yourselves, where are areas where you can actually get improvement, productivity savings, better customer access, better innovation that can actually help you make it happen. Second thing I always talk to companies about is skilling. Today, I think, let me just get a show of hands here. If you had to talk about artificial intelligence or what applicability that would have to your own business, how many people would feel comfortable saying that? It's okay to raise your hands if you do. there are like 4 hands that have gone up. Now, if that's really true, I don't think that's true. I'm sure ઘણા લોકો જાણતા હશે કઈ રીતે how to apply AI to your businesses. પણ I don't think it's 4 people. But what this tells me is that I think it is incumbent on all of us to be a little bit of lifelong learners. There is a lot of material out there. As a matter of fact, I will tell you, we ourselves, IBM, has a platform called Skills Build. You can actually sign up any of your folks. There's probably like few hundred courses that are available free of cost. You can actually get your people to sign up on that. And there are multiple platforms. It's not just IBM. There are multiple platforms where I think it is very important and incumbent for all of us to learn what are these technologies and what is the potential of these technologies. I'll give you another very interesting anecdote. I was at a CII event about a month ago. અને અમને કહ્યું હતું કે અમારા 4 જણા હતા અમે લોકો, એક સ્ટાર્ટઅપ હતું અને 3 એસ્ટાબ્લિશ કંપનીઝમાંથી હતા. તો કે તમે એઆઈના યુઝ કેસીસ વિશે વાત કરો. અને અમે બધાએ વાત કરી. We had a nice conversation. We talked about what is the art of the possible, what do you need to get started with AI and all that. After we finished the event, it was just the event before lunch, so we walked out of the meeting. And then people were having informal lunch. I was standing with, and I won't name who they are, but there were three or four CEOs I was standing around with having lunch. So, and people were obviously in a very casual setting, so they were, so then one person said, मैंने सीडीओ को भी रखा है. सीडीओ सबको बताते रहता है कि कुछ ना कुछ करो, आज ये आप एआई का करो, ये करो, लेकिन कहाँ चालू करना मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता है, यहाँ चालू कहाँ करें. सो देन समवन एल्स सेज, मैंने भी लगा के रखा है, सीडीओ लगा के रखा है, उसको बोला है मैंने 5-6 जगह निकालो तो कुछ काम करें उसके. Then there was one from one of the Tata companies. He was there. He was the CEO from one of the Tata companies. He said, अरे कुछ नहीं होता है ना तो आप चैट जीपीटी यूज़ करो, जितना आपका मीटिंग का नोट्स है ना सब समराइज करके दे देगा. और मीटिंग का नोट समराइज कर देता है तो फिर क्या है ना, बड़ा ट्रांसक्रिप्ट पढ़ना नहीं पड़ता है, वो समरी होता है, समरी पढ़ के आपको जैसे रिस्पॉन्स करना है करते रहो. सो व्हाट दैट कॉन्वर्सेशन टोल्ड मी इज अ फ्यू थिंग्स. नंबर 1, for executives, I think one of the ways they are using AI is for their own productivity. 10 पेज के ट्रांसक्रिप्ट ना पढ़ के अगर 1 पेज का समरी मेरे को मिल जाता है तो मेरे को पता चलेगा मैं क्या रिस्पॉन्ड करूं, और रिस्पॉन्स जल्दी हो जाएगा और 10 पेज पढ़ने का काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा. So that was enlightening to me. Then there was one gentleman who, then pulled me aside and said, Sandip, I'm really serious about this. None of my executive team really understands what AI is all about, and I don't even know where to start. So can you come and just run a session for us? I'd love to do that. So we did that actually. We did that about 3 weeks later. And it was a fascinating session with the kind of questions you got. So what this tells me is that skilling at all levels is very, very critical. And particularly for MSMEs, I think getting your own people skilled so that they can be an incubation of ideas for you in terms of where you can drive digital transformation, I think is very important. Because that will then get you to open doors in terms of how you can start driving different forms of innovation and digital transformation. And the third piece I want to bring out, so first one was, how do you get awareness going? Second was, driving relevance within your organizations and your business models. Third is, how do you drive collaboration? This morning, we work with a lot of business partners, also in the MSME space and so on. So I had a roundtable with several of our business partners who are then serving end customers here in Gujarat. And we were talking about different models, about how do we work together, what are they hearing as needs from the market in terms of their customers that they are serving, MSMEs and others. And what was interesting is several of them brought up certain areas which had common solutions that applied to multiple MSMEs. And I gave them the example. I mean, this is the reason I'm bringing this example up. It's not very. It may or may not apply directly to Gujarat or to MSMEs in Gujarat or any state in India for that matter. But it talks to you about how you can collaborate as MSMEs to build something that you can use in a broader way. We do a lot of work in Japan. And in Japan, MUFG is a major bank that serves almost as a surrogate for their central bank in Japan. They have their core banking system, which they use, and which we have been, maintaining and supporting for a long time. So recently they approached us and said, look, can we do something where we can create a operating model and a support model for regional banks in Japan? And we started to do that. So now what we have done there is we have created a digital utility, banking utility, which is owned by MUFG. So it's owned by one of the major banks. But that is now serving as a utility in an OpEx model for several regional banking clusters that don't necessarily have the capability to invest that much of CapEx in building that kind of digital capability. So think about that here. As long as, let's say you have multiple MSMEs that are in the manufacturing sector that require similar kind of back office functions. As long as you keep unique what you are selling, so your product development, product design, how you are selling, so your distribution model, and at what price you are selling, so your pricing model. As long as you keep that competitive to what you are as a unique entity, the back office operations can be digitally enabled through a utility that can be built through one of the IT service providers, as well as a combination of MSMEs that can come together to do that. Now, we've done this, I've personally done this around the world quite a bit, within insurance, we've done this within retail services and so on and so forth. But this is one thing that I'm actually encouraging wherever we have, where I talk to MSMEs and others, or even larger entities. How do you create digital utilities which give you relevant operations which you can streamline and get benefits from, which brings your overall cost of operations down and makes you a lot more competitive. So these are some of the models and ideas which I would say become very relevant for organizations like yourselves that actually want to drive digital transformation. So look, I'll wrap up by saying that India's vision for Viksit Bharat is not merely about technological advancement. It's about creating a future where technology will uplift humanity, fosters inclusivity, and drives sustainable progress, particularly for entities, MSMEs that can start operating on the global stage. We actually are very proud to serve as a microcosm of the IBM Corporation, where we keep doing this with multiple kinds of entities around the world, but also in India, for India, and the world. So what I wanted to do is, take a break. Pranav Bhai and others had told me, keep your comments to a minimum, but I would love to ask questions. So please, if anyone has questions, comments, I'd love to address them. Please, Tushar Bhai. Actually, should we give you a...
Hello, I'm audible? Yep. Sir, આ ઓડિયન્સમાં MSME સ્ટાર્ટઅપથી શરૂ કરીને કોર્પોરેટ લેવલના બધા બેઠા છે. મારે એમએસએમઈ માટે બે પ્રશ્ન છે
હાજી.
કે એમએસએમઈ અને સ્ટાર્ટઅપમાં ડોર કીપર ટુ ડાયરેક્ટર એક જ માણસ હોય, એટલે એને ડર છે બે. એક તો એ સોફ્ટવેર જે ખરીદે છે એ સાચું એની જે વેલ્યુ છે એ સાચી છે કે નહીં એમ. આઈ વિલ ટેલ યુ વન થિંગ કે મારે આજે ઇન્વોઇસિંગ માટેનું હમણાં આપે એક સોફ્ટવેરની વાત કરી, એ સોફ્ટવેર એમએસએમઈને પોસાય એનું બજેટ ફિક્સ છે. એટલે હું જ્યારે લેવા જાય એમએસએમઈ વાળો કે ભાઈ મારે ઇન્વોઇસિંગ કરવું છે અને મારે એમ કે એક સોફ્ટવેર ખરીદવું છે, બજારમાં 10, 12, 15 હોય છે, તો વેધર સાચી વેલ્યુ છે કે નહીં એમાં એ કન્ફ્યુઝ થઈ જાય છે. સેકન્ડ થિંગ, હી કેનોટ એફોર્ડ ટુ કીપ અ પર્સન ટુ રન ધેટ. કારણ કે મેં આપને કહ્યું કે જેમ ડોર કીપર ટુ ડાયરેક્ટર એક જ માણસ હોય, જેણે સ્ટાર્ટ કર્યું હતો એમએસએમઈ એક જ માણસ હોય, તો એને એક ડર છે મગજમાં કે હું સોફ્ટવેર તો લઈ લઈશ, એકવાર વન ટાઈમ ઇન્વેસ્ટમેન્ટ કરી દઈશ, પછી એની રિકરિંગ કોસ્ટ મારે એના માટે એક આઈટી એન્જિનિયર રાખવો પડશે. એટલે એ જે ડર છે ને એને કારણે ફક્ત 4 જ જણાએ એઆઈ બાસ ઊંચા કર્યા. એ ડર ના હોય તો એવરીબડી વુડ લાઈક ટુ એક્સેપ્ટ ઇટ. એટલે અમે સોફ્ટવેર ખરીદીએ તે વખતે સાચું છે એનું કોસ્ટિંગ કઈ રીતે કરવું એનું કંઈક ટીપ મળે. આમ તો આઈબીએમને ના કહેવાય એવું, પણ તમારે અમને કંઈક ટીપ આપો કે અમે સોફ્ટવેરનું જે કોસ્ટિંગ છે, કારણ કે બજારમાં કોઈ બી વસ્તુ લેવા જઈએ તો વી હેવ ધ કમ્પેરિઝન, પણ ધીસ અ સોફ્ટ થિંગ, ઇટ્સ અ સોફ્ટવેર, સો વી કેનોટ કમ્પેર વિથ એની અધર કંપનીઝ ઓર લાઈક ધેટ. સો વી વોન્ટ ટીપ ઓન ધેટ અને યુઝર ફ્રેન્ડલી જોઈએ સર.
ના, ચોક્કસ. સો જો અત્યારે આઈ વિલ ટેલ યુ એઝ અ સોફ્ટવેર વેન્ડર ઓલ્સો, આઈ થિંક દેટ્સ તમારો ક્વેશ્ચન બિલકુલ બરાબર છે. અને અમે સોફ્ટવેર વેન્ડર્સ છીએ, પણ આઈ વિલ ટેલ યુ વન થિંગ દેટ આજે માર્કેટમાં એટલા બધા કમ્પિટિટર્સ છે કે પ્રાઇસિંગ પ્રમાણે અત્યારે પ્રાઇસિંગ બધું લેવલ આઉટ થઈ ગયેલું છે. એટલે પ્રાઇસિંગ ઇટ્સ નોટ અ ક્વેશ્ચન, પ્રાઇસિંગનો નથી. ક્વેશ્ચન એ છે કે તમે સોફ્ટવેરથી શું કરવા માંગો છો. આજે મારું પણ કહેવું એવું છે, ઘણા લોકો મને સોફ્ટવેર વિશે પૂછે કે આ તમારું સોફ્ટવેર આ કરશે કે નહીં. સોફ્ટવેર શુડ નોટ બી અ હેમર લુકિંગ ફોર અ નેલ, બટ યુ શુડ થિંક અબાઉટ વોટ આર યુ ટ્રાઇંગ ટુ ડૂ વિથ દેટ સોફ્ટવેર. સો આઈ વિલ ટેલ યુ, હું તમને એક્ઝામ્પલ આપીશ એક, અને ઘણા વર્ષ પહેલાંનું એક્ઝામ્પલ છે. ઘણા લોકો કદાચ જાણતા પણ હશો તમે અહીંયા, જો તમે લોકો અહીંયા ઘણા લોકોએ અમૂલને ફોલો કરતા હોય તો તે વખતે ભરતભાઈ હતા, એમડી હતા, 2 એમડીઝ પહેલાં ભરતભાઈ વ્યાસ એમડી હતા. અને એ લોકોએ જસ્ટ તે વખતે ચાલુ કર્યું હતું કે અમારે પ્રોડક્શન પ્રોસેસ છે મિલ્કનું, કલેક્શન ટુ ડિલિવરી, એને અમારે સ્ટ્રીમલાઇન કરવું છે. એટલે એ લોકો તે વખતે ઘણા બધા સોફ્ટવેર ઇવેલ્યુએટ કરતા હતા. તે વખતે એસએપી હતું, અને તે વખતે એસએપી હતું, પણ એ લોકો એસએપી, ભરતભાઈ ઓલવેઝ એસએપી નહોતા કહેતા કે સાપ આએગા, દેટ વોઝ ધ વે હી યુઝ ટુ ટોક અબાઉટ ઇટ. અને વી વર હેલ્પિંગ હિમ ઇવેલ્યુએટ ઇટ એન્ડ ફિગર આઉટ હાઉ ટુ બિલ્ડ ધ સોલ્યુશન. હવે એમાં ઓરેકલ હતું, there was SAP, there were multiple ERP packages that were being looked at. However, as we worked through it, what was more important is કે કઈ રીતે રેલેવન્ટ, કયું સોફ્ટવેર રેલેવન્ટ છે, કે એમને જે એન્ડ ઓબ્જેક્ટિવ જોઈતું હતું, એમનું એન્ડ ઓબ્જેક્ટિવ શું હતું કે મારે મિલ્કની ક્વોલિટી સારી હોવી જોઈએ. અને આજે તમારે કેટલા જિલ્લાઓમાંથી મિલ્ક આવે છે, કેટલા ગામડાઓમાંથી મિલ્ક આવે છે, તો એ જે મિલ્કનું જે કોન્ટેન્ટ હોવું જોઈએ અને એની ક્વોલિટી કઈ રીતે મેન્ટેન થાય એ એમને માટે વધારે જરૂરી હતી કે દેન એનીથિંગ એલ્સ. અને પછી જેટલું પ્રોડક્ટિવિટી થઈ શકે એ વધારે સારું. તો એમાં જ્યારે વેન વી વર્ક વિથ હિમ ટુ ઇવેલ્યુએટ દેટ, SAP turned out to be the software that had all the features. ત્યારે it wasn't necessary as much of a issue about cost. પણ કાલે ઉઠીને તમે સમજી લો કે 10% સસ્તું સોફ્ટવેર એક બીજું લો, પણ એમાં તમારે 25%થી 50% કસ્ટમાઇઝેશન કરવું પડે, તો એ કામનું નહીં તમારે. દેટ ઇઝ વાય મારું કેવું, એને મોટી કંપનીઝ હોય કે સ્ટાર્ટઅપ્સ હોય કે જે પણ હોય, તમે સોફ્ટવેર જોતા હો તો પહેલાં એ ક્વેશ્ચન તમે આન્સર કરો કે તમે એનું એન્ડ ઓબ્જેક્ટિવ શું છે તમારા બિઝનેસ માટે. કે પછી તમે જો સ્ટાર્ટઅપ ચાલુ કરતા હો તો તમે જે કસ્ટમર બેઝમાં સ્કેલ કરવા માંગો છો એમાં તમારું એન્ડ ઓબ્જેક્ટિવ શું છે. અને એ કરવા માટે આ ઓડિયન્સમાં જ ઘણા, હું તો જાણું છું, ઘણા સર્વિસીસ, આઈટી સર્વિસીસ પ્રોવાઈડર્સ છે કે જે તમને એ આન્સર કરી શકે. એટલે મારું કહેવું એ છે કે તમે જ્યારે આ ડિસિશન્સ લેતા હો ત્યારે એક વખત તમારું એન્ડ ઓબ્જેક્ટિવ શું છે અને એના બેસિસ ઉપર તમે સોફ્ટવેર પિક કરો તો દેન યુ વિલ મેક અ લોટ મોર. આજે કહું છું, હજી જયંતભાઈ સાથે મારે ચાલુ વાત થાય ને જયંતભાઈ એ જ કહે કે આ ડિસિઝન લીધું હતું એ ડિસિઝન બરાબર છે, ઇટ હેઝ સ્ટેડ વિથ અસ ઓલ ધીસ વાઇલ. એટલે દેટ ઇઝ વોટ વી શુડ બી લુકિંગ એટ. ઇટ ઇઝ અ ડિફરન્ટ એક્ઝામ્પલ, પણ ગુજરાતનું એક્ઝામ્પલ હતું એટલે મેં કહું ઇટ ગુડ ટુ સ્ટેટ ઇટ દેટ વે. બરાબર? હા, બીજો ક્વેશ્ચન ત્યાં. હા
સંદીપભાઈ, આપ મેનેજિંગ ડિરેક્ટર છો ને ગુજરાતી છો એનો અમને ગર્વ છે. અભિનંદન, કોંગ્રેચ્યુલેશન. મારો પ્રશ્ન સાદો એક છે કે પ્રેસિડેન્ટ ટ્રમ્પનું રેસિપ્રોકલ ટાઇપથી આઈટી ઇન્ડસ્ટ્રીને શું ઇફેક્ટ થશે? એક્સપોર્ટ વધશે, ઘટશે કે નહીં? અને બીજો પ્રશ્ન એ છે, ચેટ બોટ છે એ આપણે એમએસએમઈની તમે વાતો કરો છો તો એ ગુજરાતીમાં થઈ શકે?
શું તમે છેલ્લો ક્વેશ્ચન શું હતો? એમએસએમઈ
ચેટબોટ ઇન ગુજરાતી.
Absolutely. Short answer, absolutely. As a matter of fact, અમે અત્યારે અમે કામ કરી રહ્યા છીએ અત્યારે ઇન્ડિયા એઆઈ મિશન સાથે થ્રુ એક સ્ટાર્ટઅપ ઓર્ગેનાઇઝેશન છે ભારત જૈન કરીને, એક સ્ટાર્ટઅપ છે ભારત જૈન કરીને, એની સાથે અમે અત્યારે કામ કરી રહ્યા છે to create an Indic model in language, in Indian languages. કારણ કે અત્યારે જે બધી જે તમારે સ્ટાન્ડર્ડ ઇન્ડિયન લેંગ્વેજ મોડલ્સ છે એ બધી સંસ્કૃત ઉપર બેઝ છે. આપણે હિન્દી, જો તમે પ્યોર હિન્દી લો, હિન્દી દેવનાગરી ઉપર હોવી જોઈએ. તમારે યુપીમાં વાપરવું હોય હિન્દી તો દેવનાગરી ઉપર તમારે લેંગ્વેજ મોડલ કરવી પડે. એ રીતે જ ગુજરાતી, હિન્દી, બીજી ઇન્ડિક લેંગ્વેજીસનું કામ અમે અત્યારે કરી રહ્યા છે અને ઘણા લોકો કરી રહ્યા છે. એટલે ચેટબોટ ગુજરાતીમાં બની શકે, વેરી ઇઝી ટુ મેક. સો I'll be more than happy to partner with anyone who wants to do that. That is there. પણ તમે હવે ટ્રમ્પની વાત કરી, એનો જો જવાબ મારી પાસે હોત ને અત્યારે તો આઈ થિંક આઈ કેન મેક અ લોટ ઓફ મની. પણ આઈ થિંક લોક, સારી વસ્તુ એ છે કે અત્યારે યુએસ અને ઇન્ડિયાના રિલેશનશિપ્સ આર પ્રોબેબલી બેટર દેન એની અધર રિલેશનશિપ્સ અરાઉન્ડ ધ વર્લ્ડ. એટલીસ્ટ વોટ વી આર સીઈંગ, based on what we are seeing, what we are hearing, what I hear from my colleagues in the US, I think they are probably better than anything else. So I tend to be a lot more optimistic that Indian industries will probably be less impacted by any of the work that's happening right now in the US. Other questions?
Thank you, sir, again for wonderful vision for 2047.
Thank you.
Where 2047 માં આપણે જોયું કે again India would be the populous country still that time. તો એ વખતે now if the all MSMEs are adopting this automations, AI, digital transformation થઈ રહ્યું છે. So what do you think the new skills and roles emerging by 2047 કે જે નવા લોકો માટે જે કરવાનું હશે for the humans whose job would be lost or who might not have the work because of the AI? What are the new things coming up for them?
Okay, now, very good question. Actually, આ ક્વેશ્ચન મારી પાસે ઘણા લોકો પૂછતા હોય કે જોબ લોસીસનું શું થશે, જોબ્સનું શું થશે એન્ડ ઓલ દેટ. તમે જુઓ તો ટાઈમ ઇમેમોરિયલથી તમે જુઓ તો જ્યારે પણ ટેકનોલોજી એવોલ્યુશન્સ થયું છે, ધ જોબ સિચ્યુએશન્સ હેઝ ઓલવેઝ ઇવોલ્વ વિથ ઇટ. સો ધ વે વી હેવ ટુ થિંક અબાઉટ AI, I like to talk about it less as artificial intelligence than augmented intelligence. What AI is allowing you to do is three things, in my view. One is it's allowing you to make better decisions with data that was not available to us before. So today, if you look at data, the data was always there. The point is, data is always there. તમે આજે સેન્સર ડેટા જુઓ છો કે જેનાથી તમને ખબર પડે કે તમારે મશીનની કે તમારું ઇક્વિપમેન્ટની સ્ટેબિલિટી શું છે શું નહીં એ બધું છે. That data was always there, but we were not able to capture it. Now by capturing that, you are able to make better decisions. So that is one. The other thing is, it is improving productivity, it's automating things, so it is improving productivity. But what that is allowing you to do, hopefully, is transition people into other roles that are more enhanced and allowing you to build capacity that you otherwise did not have to grow your business. So one area of the job shifts is going to be in expansion of capacity for what you are doing already that helps you potentially drive better growth. Second is there are a lot of jobs. Prompt engineering is a big field which is evolving in terms of how do you develop prompts that makes AI applications a lot more effective. There is a whole lot of work that is happening in model development, which is a whole new science, new form of science, which is evolving. Ultimately, what will also evolve is quantum computing, which is going to be the next phase of what basic computing is not allowing you to do today. So all of those things are new areas and jobs which will get created, which is why I keep saying skilling is very, very critical in all of this space. Today, if we think about it, આજે ઇન્ડિયાનું તમે જોવા જાઓ જે વિકસિત ભારતનું જે વિઝન છે ને બધું એમાં અત્યારે આપણું ડેમોગ્રાફિક ડિવિડન્ડ જે છે ઇટ્સ પ્રોબબ્લી ધ બિગેસ્ટ ઇન ધ વર્લ્ડ. So another thing that we have the capability of being is the skill capital of the world. If we skill our youth properly in some of these emerging technologies that are happening, that becomes a huge area of growth, I think, and a huge area of potential for people to get into, both for skilling and developing those skills that can be used around the world. And once you have the skills, then it doesn't matter what policies Trump has, તમને સામેથી બોલાવશે. બરાબર?
Hello.
જી.
Good evening, sir.
હા જી.
Hi, this side.
Sorry.
On your left. Hi, this is Harshal here. Harshal Khajanchi. We met a while ago.
Yes, we did.
So I'm founder of Paragraph, managed office spaces and co-working spaces. I'm representing the youth wing over here, youth wing committee of GCCI, and I speak on behalf of them. First of all, thank you and thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts here, and we are obliged to have you here.
Thanks.
And share your views on the IT industry. My question will be specific to Gujarat. We see that the Gujarat government is following the footsteps of other states like Karnataka, and they have formed their own IT policy. Gujarat government has formed their own IT policy 2022 to 2027 to give benefits. But as we see that Gujarat is far more ahead in manufacturing industries and traders compared to the IT, and other states like Karnataka are much more ahead than us. What do you think, sir, is how far ahead are we going to go in terms of the state in attracting talent related to IT and giving benefits to MNCs, corporates, and Fortune 500 companies who represent IT and ITES, IT-enabled services in Gujarat? And will these companies be able to get the benefits of this scheme of the government of Gujarat? Thank you.
Okay, so I'll keep this very short and I'll give you my own example. So Gujarat government, I think, is probably one of the most progressive in incenting companies to come and invest in Gujarat. We ourselves, when we started to look at outside the major cities, we picked Gandhinagar as our software lab, and a lot of it had to do with two things. One, obviously the availability of talent, that where we started to sort of work with IIT Gandhinagar and others for the talent that we can bring in. Secondly, the incentives that the government is offering. And I think shortly after we came in, there were 3 or 4 other large major corporations that followed. Capgemini was one. I think Google, I think, came in. There were like 2 or 3 other tech homes that have started to come in. So I think there are 2 things that are really important to do. One is the advancements that's happening in GIFT City, you continue that. So the government promotions and others, we are also getting ready to sign, I think we have signed an MOU, or we are getting ready to sign an MOU to set up AI COEs and others here in GIFT City and so on. So those kinds of forums will start to create an incentive for people to come here more and more. And I think the talent availability is there. I think as these firms come, I mean, part of the reason why we came here, that was one of the first filters. Can we get the right talent? And there are institutions like, Gujarat Technical University, Gandhinagar, IIT Gandhinagar and others that are great incubators of talent. So I think continuing to work with them and get them to drive skilling programs, that will continue to drive that growth in Gujarat. I've been told last question, so sir, with you, and then we'll have to close.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to ask the last question.
Sir.
Sir, you covered the digital transformation and the AI roadmap for MSME very well. Now, one typical challenge that I represent both the industries, like the IT services industry as well as have an opportunity to run an MSME industry.
Wonderful.
So couple of changes that have already happened in the digital transformation space is, let's say, accounting and areas have already got digitized, and the government initiatives digitized almost 100% of accounting services. E-com or businesses have got digitized on that side. But when it comes to challenges faced by the industry, one major challenge that MSME industry faces is functional knowledge versus technical knowledge. Unfortunately, our technical people in the IT field are not willing to go and see the functional part. They want to learn through the Googles of this world. And we have a very, very typical situation wherein the connection doesn't happen. When you talk about, let's say, Amuls of this world, their scale is so large that their capability to establish processes is far better. Whereas an MSME has a complexity of a process, multitasking at all stages of their business, and the software doesn't understand that. I would like to understand how we can address this using AI, and how we can ensure that the functional knowledge, considering that AI will take over some coding jobs and some testing jobs, functional jobs will become more important. How do we transform our IT outsourcing services to functional knowledge to deliver solutions in the MSME world?
So unfortunately, there isn't an easy answer to it, honestly, particularly for the MSME space. But that said, I think part of this is why we had a very robust discussion on this morning, to say that if there are functional tasks that can in fact be automated, if you come together as an industry to sort of drive a utility form. See, a piece of software will never solve that for you. It has to be a solution. And to make it a solution, you have to pool that industry functional knowledge in some ways. So what tends to happen is either you work with professional services firms to get you the best practices that can be brought into your organization, or the other side, the flip side of it, which I think is a much more sustainable model, is if an MSME association comes together. I'm sure there are, sub-associations which have industry functional knowledge and others. If those come together to say that we want to build a solution that many of us can use, so clearly there are certain competitive things which you cannot share. But if you can create a utility, like the one I gave you as the banking example, the reason why that came about is because the regional banks did not have the wherewithal to build that functional knowledge independently themselves. So they came together to say, can we create a utility that streamlines this functional knowledge and drive it that way? So that is one other model, other than leveraging best practices that you can from around the world, which then can be automated and then shared with others in the industry. So this notion of competition becomes very important. And I'll give you our own example. So we have actually led the creation of something which we call the AI Alliance, where we are bringing together responsible AI practices across multiple players, including Meta and other AI providers as well, to say, are there common themes that we all can come together and agree on that will take away from us, each of us developing that ourselves. I'll also give you another example. AI governance is becoming very big for responsible AI. We invested in it in a big way in our platform. There's a very major IT services provider, I can't name it because we haven't formally announced it, but they were trying to build their own. When they saw what we had, they said, now you know what, we will adopt this. So let's sort of talk about adopting it. And they are going to be adopting it not only for their internal AI governance, but also what they do for their end clients. So it is again a model of competition that is now starting to form. And I think that is a form of collaboration between governments, similar industry groups, as well as what you can do with IT providers that can be brought together to create some of those things. I know it's not easy because everyone is worried about competitive threats within that. But I think if you can carve out some of these, that is a step towards really driving that kind of collaboration. With that, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity and have a great conference.
Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Grow business. Transform Gujarat.